from the Jennings Communication Building on the campus of Dixie State University, this is Trailblazer Weekly, starring Carrick Segmeller and Drayson Ball.
Welcome inside the CEC TV studios. It's time for another edition of Trailblazer Weekly, and what an exciting show we have on the docket for you today on this Wednesday afternoon. I'm Carrick Segmeller. He is Drayson Ball, and it is Football National Signing Day. And we have been busy all day long as the names have rolled in. They've been active on social media at the Dixie State Football Twitter and Instagram accounts. Of course, we've been sharing those from the at Dixie Athletics, the main Twitter account as well. You can see the updated list on DixieStateAthletics.com. We're going to have head coach Paul Peterson. He's going to join us for most of this show today, and 2 segments worth. We'll have him on for about a half an hour. We'll break down the signing class in general, kind of an overview, and then talk about the offensive recruits that are coming in and the defensive recruits that are coming in and what needs they were looking to fill and just talk about this signing class and break it down. I've been looking forward to this show for quite a long time, and I'm excited to have Coach Peterson on. Always a great interview, and it's the first Division I signing class for this Trailblazer squad.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I was going to bring it up too. The first Division I signing class for Dixie State. It was a busy day all throughout the morning. The football Twitter account and Dixie State Athletics Twitter account was posting videos of each recruit that was been signed. It was a fun day, and we're going to be talking to Coach Paul Peterson. It's going to be fun to talk to him and get to know a little bit more about this recruiting class.
Yeah, the Trailblazers have signed just over 30 guys listed right now, and waiting on a few more to come in still at this point. But we'll talk about what at least what there is to talk about, which is a lot of great guys, some local talent, and a lot of guys from around here in this region, Las Vegas, Southern California. Lots of great talent coming into this Dixie State football program, and we will break it down a little bit later. Of course, we're going to take the first segment and run it just how we normally would, because there's a lot going on still. It's the spring crossover. Softball started their season yesterday, a doubleheader split with Central Washington yesterday. They got a big tournament coming up. Baseball is going, and so we're going to dive right into this thing, and let's start this off with our Blazer Beat. Like we always do on the show, and lots of Trailblazer athletics to talk about. We give you department news, we give you headlines, and that is our Blazer Beat portion of this first segment. We start with Dixie State baseball, a 3-0 sweep in San Marcos, California, over Cal State San Marcos, getting a win each day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and coming back 3-0. And the big part about that is you're starting to see some early leaders emerge, as you see Tyson Fisher win the RMAC Baseball Player of the Week, and Tavita Gerber win the RMAC Pitcher of the Week. And Tyson Fisher was on fire in that. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But great weekend for the Dixie State baseball team as they open up their season with a sweep in San Marcos, California. Moving on, basketball results. The Trailblazers headed to Colorado once again this last weekend for the first 2 games of a 4-game road swing. The women's team falling 65-56 on the road in a tough, hard-fought battle at Fort Lewis. The next night they would bounce back with a 65-39 win over Adams State in Alamosa, Colorado. The men's team fought back into the rankings. We're ranked number 19 in the NABC poll going into the weekend. Won 90-72, a big-time win on Friday night at Fort Lewis, and then slipped up, an 82-75 loss in Alamosa at Adams State. The Grizzlies had won just 6 games before then, and now Dixie State is down in second place, and they will try to regroup and battle back this weekend against Western Colorado and Colorado Mesa. Moving forward, we mentioned it already, today is Dixie State football signing day. The Trailblazers adding new recruits from Southern Utah, Southern California, Las Vegas, all over the place. They've signed just over 30 people right now and looking to sign a few more as paperwork continuing to roll in this afternoon. We'll have Coach Paul Peterson on the show a little bit later to discuss that. It is the Trailblazers' first Division I signing class as they head toward FCS play this coming fall in 2020. Finally, Dixie State softball, a doubleheader split against Central Washington yesterday, and then we'll host the DSU softball Courtyard Classic this weekend. 14 teams from 5 different conferences will converge on the Canyon Softball Complex in St. George, Utah for a 3-day round-robin tournament, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the Canyon. If you want to catch some great softball, it starts tomorrow, Thursday at 11 a.m. out at the Canyon Softball Complex. We'll be there till Saturday. Come on out and check it out.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. They do this tournament every year. It's been a blast the last couple of years that we've been able to be a part of it and, come out and watch. And softball team should be shaping up to be a very good competitive team this year.
How about our Campus Store Player of the Week? Mentioned it during the Blazer Beat segment, talking about baseball, and how can it not be Tyson Fisher? He came out on fire in the first game last weekend and then went into a great second game. A little quiet in game 3, but when you put up the numbers that he did in the first 2 games, that's okay. It still wins you RMAC Player of the Week.
Yeah, 7 of 11 on the weekend. He had 4 extra base hits, including a home run, 5 RBIs, 3 runs scored in 3 of the starts over the weekend against Cal State San Marcos. And I got to thank Tyson Fisher, because Tyson Fisher makes media members like me and you look really, really smart. Because last week I went out and I made a bold prediction that Tyson Fisher is a legitimate baseball or MLB prospect, a pro prospect. He goes out and smashes the cover off the ball, making me look very, very smart, so I'm very happy about that. But Tyson Fisher, great weekend and a good start for this baseball season.
Yeah, 3 doubles, a home run. He was just smashing the ball over the weekend, which leads us to our question of the day and what we're going to talk about the rest of this first segment before we transition into talking about football for the remainder of the show. And that's this baseball team. The baseball team goes 3-0 in Cal State San Marcos. Road games are road games, and wins are wins in college baseball. It may not be the toughest opponent they'll play all year, but certainly good to start 3-0, to start with the sweep. I think you saw some of the early leaders and these batting leaders that we talked about that would show up. You saw some good pitching, some of those names that we mentioned last week. So the question of the week this week, you're talking about the baseball sweep. What is it that we learned from the baseball sweep last week? Are we getting too far ahead of ourselves if we get super excited about the 3-0 sweep? What did we learn?
I think what we learned is just that this team is just extremely deep, especially offensively. And obviously with Tyson Fisher, he's batting 6th right now. I mean, I don't know if that's kind of just where he's going to be at or if he's going to move up some point later in the season, but that's how deep this team is that arguably potentially your best hitter is batting 6th in the batting order, because that's how good and deep this Dixie State offense is and can be throughout the entire season. Now, the big question that we did have coming into this weekend and this season overall is who is going to step up and be your number 1 pitcher. And obviously Tavita Gerber made a great case for himself over the weekend, goes 6 scoreless innings pitched, and was really just tremendous, was controlling the game, pitched very, very well in the 3rd game of that series to clinch the sweep. He goes 6 innings of scoreless, allows just 2 hits and that shutout, just 70 pitches too. He did it so effortlessly. He was able to get through innings very, very quickly. So he makes a good case for himself to be kind of that number 1 guy. And the pitching was kind of, like I said, one of the question marks, and they didn't have a great outing in the very first game of the season, which you can maybe kind of expect. And I expect them to kind of settle down a little bit more as the season goes on. But if their pitching can be as good as their offense is, and if they can, even if they can hold their opponents to, 2, 3, or 4 runs a game, the offense is going to be able to put up 5, 6, 7, 8 runs per game and be able to make the pitching look a lot better, even if it is a little lackluster. However, Gerber, just tremendous over the weekend.
Well, the thing that's encouraging to me, and I kind of posed that part of the question was, we're getting too far ahead of ourselves if we get excited about this start. Absolutely not. That's what you want to see. And they can go down, and there's still things that they can learn from this trip. They went down. They gave up 7 runs in the first game. First game of the season, you give up 7 runs, but you score 14. You win 14-7. Next game, 5-2. Next game, a shutout, 7-0. So you get better and better with each game, and it takes time. This is something we saw with the softball team in their doubleheader split yesterday against Central Washington. They were playing a Central Washington team that had already played 5 games down at Las Vegas Stinger. Dixie State softball team was playing its first couple of games. So anytime you play that first game of the season, there's a little rust there. There's some nerves. There's some things that you have to work out. So you give up 7 runs in the first game, you come back, give up 2, and then a shutout in game 3. The defense and the pitching is getting better and better, and you're seeing, different hitters step up. Tyson Fisher was huge in the first 2 games. He didn't do a whole lot in the third game, but there were others there to carry the load. And so I'm absolutely encouraged. I learned that this Dixie State team, I think, is exactly where we thought they would be going into this weekend. I think both of us fully expected them to go down and to sweep, and they'll try to continue that this weekend before they come back for their first home games next weekend. But I think that's what we learned. They're right where they should be, they're right where they need to be, and off to a great start.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And kind of going back to one of the things you said about, kind of getting off to a struggle. We saw it with softball. We saw it in the first game a little bit with the baseball team. One thing that I always brought from my playing days in high school that I always the adage that I apply to, whether it be Dixie State or my favorite baseball team in the pros, the first week of the first couple games, the first 10 games or so, not all going to be roses. That's one of the adages that my coach there would always tell us. It's not always going to be roses in those first couple of games, and that leads me into our Rock Canyon Bank by the Numbers feature today, which is this 3-0 start for Dixie State. And I want to ask you, as we jump right into this, when is the last time, in fact, not when, how many days has it been since Dixie State started 3-0 to a season? I want to get your thoughts on this. How many days has it been since they started 3-0 to the season?
Well, how many? Tell me first. How many years has it been?
I mean,
and
you
then
could do some simple.
math.
You could do some simple math. So I'm not going to give you any.
Let's say 500, 600.
500. So you're saying about 2 years?
Couple years.
So it's been a little bit longer than that. It's been since February of 2017.
Wow.
So this is now going to be the 4th year removed from that season. 1,093 days it's been since Dixie State started 3-0 to this baseball season. They got a 4-game sweep over Cal State San Bernardino, not Cal State San Marcos. However, little similarities there. 3-0 start this season, and a 4-0 start 1,093 days ago.
Good stuff. Well, the Rock Canyon by Rock Canyon Bank by the Numbers feature on that one. That'll do it for our first segment and for our baseball talk, our softball talk, and we got to jump into our interviews with head coach Paul Peterson on Trailblazer Weekly. It is football signing day. We've been chomping at the bit to talk about these recruits, and he's going to join us for about the next half hour on the show to tell us about these recruits, to talk to us about the signing class and where they wanted to improve, and just break it all down with us here on the show. Head coach Paul Peterson joins us next on Trailblazer Weekly.
Radio Dixie 91.3. We don't play that. Nope, not that. A big fat no there. That's what we play. And stuff like that. On St. George's only alternative, Radio Dixie 91.3. Oh, and from 9 till midnight, we play this. I need a one dance. And this. Radio Dixie 91.3 FM.
Hey guys, how are you today?
Good.
I'm here to talk about how with technology you can make amazing worlds. Come with me. My team and I bring the Halo world to life.
Is that you?
That is me. I wasn't a math genius and I knew nothing about coding. But you guys do. You guys have the power to change things.
I want your job.
I want you to have my job.
There is a place where rocks bleed and nature blushes on a battlefield green with envy, where dimples determine destiny and a tiny wooden tee holds the outcome in the balance. There is a place where friends are opponents and opponents are friends, where the prize is elusive, the conquest is captivating, and the score isn't settled till the drinks are down. There is a place.
Radio Dixie 91.3, Young the Giant, something to believe in.
John, what song do you want to hear?
Next, Miss Calendris. You'll be on the SWAT team, the best SWAT team.
Did a fantastic situation. I should talk to you. I was going to talk to you last time.
Honorary Forest Ranger Betty White here, lending a hand to my dear friend Smokey Bear. Because for 75 years, he's only said,
only you can prevent wildfires.
But there's a lot more to say. Like, if you park your car on tall, dry grass, the hot exhaust pipe can start a wildfire. So keep the animals safe, especially the cute shirtless one. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Today's show is brought to you by the Dixie State Campus Store, the official source for DSU Trailblazer clothing, providing students with textbooks, as well as educational, office, and art supplies. Located on the second floor of the Gardner Center, the Dixie State Campus Store, proud sponsor of Trailblazer Weekly.
Welcome back inside Trailblazer Weekly on this Wednesday afternoon. National Signing Day for the football team, and head coach Paul Peterson joins us on the set, and we're going to break this signing class down. And he's going to spend 2 segments with us. Last year, it went so fast, we didn't have enough time to talk about it all, so he's going to spend pretty much the rest of the show with us today as we break down this recruiting class. First thing we'll do is for you audience out there, so you know, we're going to talk about the offense. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the defense and the special teams. So we have plenty of time to talk about each position group and some of the guys coming in. Obviously, Coach, first thing is to ask you just kind of an overview of this signing class and what areas you felt like you were able to improve in the most, and just your general thoughts on this recruiting class so far.
Man, this was such a fun day, man. It's so fun for the kids too. They've been anticipating this for most of their lives, and for us to give them an opportunity to play here with our unbelievable resources and leadership here has been awesome. And these guys coming on the official visits all had a chance to tour the campus and see what we have going here, and meet the president, which is fantastic. He spoke to them on the recruiting trip, so they know that they've got the backing of the support they need. We addressed a lot of needs. We needed some length. You can see we got some big guys that can move, that are good football players. It helps making this jump to Division I for us to be able to offer some scholarships and get into some recruiting battles and win some. And we're really excited about that, and to get these guys on campus to compete. Very, very exciting day for myself and staff. A lot of hard work, a year's worth of work coming down to one day, really, of making sure we're locking them down. But definitely a fun day for us.
We'll get into the position groups here on the offensive side here in just a minute. But when you came in, you were very clear about, hey, with our recruiting, we're going to be, local. We're going to be Southern Utah. We're going to be Nevada. We're going to be California. We're basically going to be drawing that, that radius, the 6 hour radius.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're seeing here. We've got some local Southern Utah guys. We've got guys from Las Vegas, quite a few of them, Southern California. Just talk about the different areas. Even a punter from Australia that we'll talk about a little bit more in the next segment, but a little international flavor there. But just talk about the areas that you guys hit the hardest and the guys that you're trying to bring into this program.
Well, where we emphasized is where we got the guys. We spent a lot of time in Utah hitting every school we could and did a good job. We felt like we got a lot of Utah kids that'll help us. and we needed to do that and change that a little bit on our roster. When we first took over, there wasn't enough. And being a Utah school, I wanted to make sure that I gave those kids an opportunity to come down here, and this is the best place to live, no doubt about that. So yeah, easy to come here. Obviously, Las Vegas, good pipeline there. We signed quite a few kids out of there with some good speed and length at some skill positions as well. Linebacker. So we're excited to get down in Vegas. Good football there. Southern California, just a quick trip. Not a lot of people recognized how awesome this place is, and all we did in our recruiting pitches was just come see. And I think we blew their socks off when they came and saw, like I said, all the new buildings and facilities and resources that we have to help them be successful in the classroom and on the football field. And our coaches, I tip my hat to them. They work their tail off. That's a hard time for coaches, especially with young kids. I think there's 36 kids on the staff, and so there were some single moms there for a while. We were doing a lot of home visits and getting in their homes and inviting them to come see, and they did, and they liked it.
Checking with head coach Paul Peterson, the football team on National Signing Day. Let's just jump right into this and start talking some specifics. Understand? Let's start right off with maybe the most important one, the quarterback. And let's talk about you got one quarterback. He's a local kid. He's from Dixie High School. Tell us a little bit about the
Big
quarterback.
Reg, man. I've been having to keep my mouth quiet about the rooms that we have right now. It works. It works. Wasn't necessarily targeting a Mission kid, but when he comes back, the guys that we have competing for the job now will be gone, and so. He can come back and compete for that job as well. But just a great kid, and I'm excited for him to join our family.
And of course, alongside quarterback, you got to have the skill positions for the quarterback to get the ball to, and so that's going to include tight ends, it's going to include wide receivers, it's going to include running backs. Just give us some names of the skill positions that you were able to bring in this today.
Well, specifically, let's start with the tight ends. We signed 4 of them. We got a couple kids. Out of Arizona. Jay McEwen's a guy that runs really good routes. He Chandler High School, undefeated, won the state championship. Really good 2-point stance type guy that would fit in our offense. Like I said, Cade Veach, another tight end from Perry High School, tall, long, 6'7" kid. He had another tight end actually on his team that signed a letter of intent. So 2 really good tight ends at the same school. But some really good guys. We got Ray Butler out of Colorado, Far East High School, out of Colorado, just in Aurora. Really good football player. He's doing some spread stuff and in-line scrimmage type stuff. 6'4", 6'5", playing basketball right now. He came a little bit late because he's kicking butt in basketball, but definitely fun. Who am I missing? I know I'm missing somebody. Our local guy, Randy Flavel. So Randy's going to be go on a mission first. He had a ton of catches, over 70 catches, 1,000-yard. Yards and receiving yards, so really good tight end group. We've got 2 seniors coming up, so we needed some young guys to fill up those needs at tight end, so that's why we signed so many and then sending one on a mission. So good group, and that's a huge part of our offense.
Yeah, and as I say, before we move on from the tight ends, obviously you saw Chase Hess, an all-region guy this year. We saw how important that tight end positions is to your offense and how important it's going to be going forward. So great to get some more talented tight ends.
One of these 3 guys is going to be playing. We're gonna rotate those guys in. They're going to be playing. They'll have a role in our offense, and I think that was appealing to them too. So where are we going to go next? Running next? What do you got? Wide receivers?
Let's go receivers. That's one I'm interested to know because you got DeJuan Dantzler graduated. You got Xavier Smith was a senior. He's gone. So you're going to see a lot of new faces along the lining up at receiver. So who are we going to see out there?
I feel like we've got some good guys coming up that are on our team right now, and these guys will add some depth, and I'm sure they're going to push them. Daniel Thomason. Another basketball-type body, 6'3", 1,000-yard receiver, Alta High School. He's planning on going on a mission, but really good get for us. We're excited about him. Mason Paulo, another local guy, Jordan High School. Tough, physical guy, playing both sides of the ball. He's a really good football player. David Fisher from UKIPE, I can't miss him. He's a speedy burner, inside slot receiver. We anticipate playing the H position. Getting in some option routes and running some posts and corners, and he's going to be a good guy. And we got a big, tall, long guy, Damian Thompson from Murrieta Mesa in California, 6'5", 200, just kind of a baby giraffe out there, just so long and has a ton of potential to develop. Those are the 4 guys that we signed. Really good football players, can take the top off, high point the ball. We need that explosiveness on the offensive side too. We're excited about all 4 of those guys.
Continuing to talk some skill positions with head coach Paul Peterson in this 2020 recruiting class that is just about complete. Some paperwork and some things waiting to come in and to get some other guys in, but mostly complete is this recruiting class. And let's talk running backs. You know, there's a host of good running backs on this recruiting class as well. You graduate a senior in CJ Luongo, and you've got a lot coming back there, but it's always good to be deep at the running back position.
Yeah, no doubt. Those are guys that take a beating. But we feel like we have a certain back on our roster right now, big back that can hit you and they'll get downhill. So we really emphasized on getting that, I guess you call them a scat back out of there in space. Our guys can do that now, our big backs can. But we signed some guys that can run, that are burners, that can run some option routes in space. You get them a swing and they're up the sideline 80 yards. Those are the type of guys. A lot like CJ, quick, good feet. We signed Daniel Yamada at Lone Peak High School. He's planning on serving a mission. He's a bigger back, so he'll come back here in a couple years. Nick Floyd from Corona Centennial, powerhouse in Southern California, really good get for us. 1,000-yard rusher, I think 8 games with over 100 yards rushing, and so he's fantastic. Quali Conley, he's out of This Fresno, the Central Valley. I was going to say Central High School in Fresno. Another really good back, speedy guy in space, and dangerous with the ball in their hands. Exciting for me to add that element to our offense. Sweet. Awesome guys.
And then obviously it's all fun and games to talk about the skill positions and the quarterback, and you can get all the best ones that you want, but it doesn't really matter unless you get guys that can protect them. So let's now transition into the offensive line. And I mean, just looking at this list here in front of me, the offensive linemen you got are at least in stature monsters. And so let's maybe go down the list, talk about some of the offensive linemen that you got and what they're going to mean to your team.
Yeah, so we got 7 of them. And 2 of them will be Michigan guys, so 5 coming in. I mean, fantastic guys. Tennyson Hadfield, Logan High School, really big road grader. He plays tackle, but he can play all 5 positions. Really excited about him. He's the guy that's going to have flowing long hair out of his helmet, which is awesome. Porter LaChance, another. I say flowing long hair. His mom's a hairdresser, so I'll talk about his hair too. You can watch it online. He fluffs it up, gets it all poofy. He's a character, a great leader. Harriman High School. Planning on going on a mission. His brother, you might recognize that last name, is at BYU. We anticipate him growing. His brother grew a couple inches on his mission. He's already tall. He's going to come back as a beast. Brian Oney from Chaminade Prep in Southern California, another tall 6'7" guy with a ton of developmental potential. Really good high school team, coached up very, very well. Good football player. Bayo Kanike from Roosevelt High School. Bayo is a basketball guy, first time playing football. That's what's exciting about him. He's 6'5.5", 6'6", big offensive lineman with great feet. Like I said, playing basketball, that's what he grew up playing, actually track and basketball. And just the potential that he has watching his films, exciting, very exciting to me. Who am I missing? Daniel Gonzalez, Barstow. He's got a cool story. He's kind of a late addition for us. And we've been passing Barstow all the way through when we were recruiting to Southern California. And actually had a chance to meet him on our way back there with his parents, and phenomenal. I got him on the visit, and this is one of the funnest parts about my job is, at dinner I was able to offer him a scholarship, and mom's, double take and starts crying, and they're just super excited that they get this opportunity, and that's fun for me. A lot of hard work for him to be able to get that done. So pretty awesome. Carson Smith, Lone Peak High School, another one of the other missionaries that we got. Awesome, 2-year starter. Tough kid. We saw him in the summertime at a camp, Best of the West camp, and just a great person with a ton of leadership. He's going to add some value. He actually leaves. He's got his call already. He's going to Mexico City. He's leaving in March next month, so a few weeks away. But really excited. Did I miss anybody? David Shin. How could I miss Shin? He brought his 2 little sisters on the trip, and they were our biggest fans already. We need to get him a cheerleading uniform. They were great. He's a tough kid. He's one of our only inside guys. We feel like we got some good inside guys, but we needed some length at the tackle position. And then if they don't work out at tackle, then we just move it on the inside, and all of a sudden we got some 6'5" offensive linemen. We look the part. And Shin's a guy that's a 6'3" guy, but he can play all 3 of those inside positions. Tough football player.
When we talked to you a couple of months ago, right after the season had ended, and you're just getting ready to head out on this recruiting trail, you mentioned that we've got to get bigger. We've got to get longer if we want to compete, and it certainly looks like on this offensive side of the ball, that's mission accomplished. you've been able to accomplish that goal, and we'll see how it plays into spring ball and into the fall.
Yeah.
So
get Coach Timmons in the weight room with these guys, and we'll be scary. We'll be scary real quick. So excited about all of them.
He is head coach Paul Peterson, and no, we're not done. We just got to take a break, and we're going to talk defense when we come back. Defense and special teams. We just broke down all of the offense. Love hearing about the newest members of the Trailblazer family, and that's the offense. We got to take a break. When we come back, we'll break down the defense, the defensive line, the linebackers, the secondary, and special teams as well. Signed a kicker and a punter from Australia.
Yes.
So we're going to hear about that story
Down under.
and how that came to be. We got to take a break. More with head coach Paul Peterson after this timeout.
When I was growing up, my mom was extremely tidy. We were trained to put things back where we got them from. One day, when I walked into my mom's house, I felt like I walked to someone else's house. There was stuff everywhere. And just growing up the way I grew up, and to see this transition was very alarming.
When Sean talked to me, it was a wake-up call, and that's when I went to the doctor.
Let's go. Take the ball out there.
There is a place where young and old make connections, where kids feel like grown-ups, and grown-ups feel like kids. There is a place where beauty arises in contrast, where wonder is universal, and laughter second nature. There is a place where friends find a future, families find each other, and feelings find their home. There is a place.
Radio Dixie 91.3. We don't play that. Nope, not that. A big fat no there. That's what we play. And stuff like that. On St. George's only alternative, Radio Dixie 91.3. Oh, and from 9 till midnight, we play this. I need a one dance. And this. Radio Dixie 91.3 FM.
Tell me not in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream. For the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not as they seem.
Art is long and time is fleeting, and our hearts though stout and brave, still like muffled drums are beating, funeral marches to the grave. In the world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like dumb-driven cattle, be a hero in the strife.
Lives of great men all remind us that our lives can be sublime, and departing, leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Footprints that perhaps another, sailing over life's solemn main, a forlorn and shipwrecked brother, seeing, shall take heart again. Let us then be up and doing, with a heart for any fate. Still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait.
I take the road less traveled, run free, unwind, unravel, someplace outside with lots to do. Green trees, red rocks, and don't forget that blue sky. The sunshine shining, sunshine pouring on me. Think I might just stay a while. Say hooray all day because the sun is gonna shine on me. Sun is gonna shine on me. Sun's gonna shine on me.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But I get it, you're busy, and busy people can't have prediabetes. I read that wrong. They can, okay? Just go to the site.
Welcome back inside Trailblazer Weekly. It is Football National Signing Day. Head coach Paul Peterson is here on the show with us. Just talked offense, and we're going to jump right back into it and talk defense, because if you can score points, that's great, but you got to be able to keep the other team out of the end zone. So we want to talk about some defense and just break down each position, and we'll start up front. We'll go backwards this time with the offense. We talked about offensive line last. Defense, let's just start right with the defensive line. And like we were talking during the break, some might look at this list and say, hey, there's not very many defensive linemen on this list, but still waiting on a few of them to get in that we can't talk about yet. We do have a couple of great names that we can talk about.
We do, yeah. So J.J. Levi, he's from West L.A., big guy that can plug the middle. We've kind of fought a little bit for him with a couple other schools. Exciting assignee for us. He's a big plugger, 6'1", 6'1 and a half, 6'2", big guy. I just gave him 2 inches, didn't I? That's okay.
That's what we do on the rosters, right?
We just pat him up. He's great. He's a big, strong kid that's going to be able to help our team. Comes from a really good family. Had a great time with his extended family that came on the visit. We're still waiting on a couple guys we can't announce yet, but they're coming in pretty soon, doing a little signing party a little bit later, which is no big deal. But signed a couple mid-year guys that I'd love to talk about too. Isaac Fotu. So I coached Isaac at Snow College, defensive end. He signed at Indiana State and then decided to transfer, and we'll talk about his little brother a little bit later. But really, really good defensive end. Helps leadership, Utah guy that we're getting back. And then Eti, I can't remember Eti's last name. It's a long Polynesian name, but we signed him at the break too, another junior college transfer. So we have added some depth to our defensive line positions. We got some really good guys coming back on our roster too. But
you mentioned Isaac Fotu, the mid-year guy, and his brother Jared Fotu.
Yeah, segue right into
just signed in as well.
Right, yeah. So Jared's going to be a guy that goes on a mission here, but at a Lone Peak High School, had a ton of tackles. Got in a crazy car accident right before the season, and still was able to play and be productive, but not as many games as you'd like to see. We had another guy on defensive back that we'll talk about a little bit later. Similar situation, but linebackers. Will Payton from Desert Pines, long 6'2" linebacker, really good in space. He'll be a really good plugger in the middle for us. A really tough kid. And then Jaron, obviously we got to talk about Jaron, local legend here. Yeah, Jaron Polo hurt tore his ACL right at the beginning of the season. Really tough break for him. And ACL a long time ago would have been like, maybe you can't play anymore. But it's pretty easy nowadays to get that surgery done. We offered him clear back when I got the job in January last year. Saw him in school, evaluated his film. We're like, boom, that's the type of guy we were looking for. Wanted to focus on Southern Utah kids. And if there was one looking like him walking around, we wanted to offer, and we did right away. Got a really good relationship with him. Very, very, very good family. Really, really excited about him.
Let's keep it rolling. Let's go around. I guess let's go to the outside. Let's go to the secondary and talk a little bit about one of the things we've talked about a lot, and just right now is length. And certainly the secondary. That's going to be your cornerbacks and your defensive backs, your safeties. A lot of length there as well. Yeah.
So a couple things there. So either the guys got to be super fast, which we got some burners on there. I mean, we got a 10.6 junior. And Devin Perkins, junior 100 meters, he's probably going to be better than that this year. So he's smoking fast. And then you got some length. So you got some length and speed at the same time with those guys. But they either got to make you longer and stronger, or they got to make you faster. And we definitely accomplish that with this huge signing class of DBs. Running our type of defense, the 4-2-5, you got to you've got an extra person, so you're taking a linebacker out and putting another DB in there. So we got five DBs on the field, and they got to cover. And all these guys can. We did a really good job in Las Vegas and in Southern California. We'll just go down. Jordan Scott from Citrus Valley High School. Jordan's a long defensive back. Plays safety. He'll probably be a field safety for us in our quarters coverage. Physical. You watch his film, he'll hit you. Amari Duncan from Sacramento, River City High School, a guy that did everything on his film, playing offense, defense, special teams, returner, quarterback, but a guy that can just flat burn and longer with a ton of developmental potential. You hear me say that a lot. Some of these guys, are maybe a little light, but that's what Coach Timmons gets paid for, to get these guys bigger and faster and stronger. So he's a guy that's going to help us. He might help us right away. Devin Perkins just talked about Las Vegas High, legitimate 10.6 100-meter guy. You can't teach that. He's going to be faster this time around his senior year coming up in track season. So excited to see what he runs, and that's a legitimate time. That's like those guys when you're out there recruiting, like, yeah, I run a 4.4. Like, no, you don't. There's only a few people that can run a 4.4. There's only a few people that can run a 10.6. So definitely impressive. Kyle Floyd. Kyle Floyd's the other one that he broke his foot early in the season. Had quite a few Mountain West offers actually before this and ended up falling off towards the end there. He made a decision to come back to the season. So he played the last couple playoff games and actually played an all-star game. Should have been the MVP, causing all sorts of havoc. But a guy that flies around the football and can run and loves football. Love that kid. He's awesome. Dries Bailey, Mission Viejo, another powerhouse Southern California kid. Longer, defensive back, can run, and he'll hit you. Excited about him. Great family. Good talking with his dad. His dad's an old military guy, right? So he's gonna be living right, and we're excited about him. Kalen McGee, Coach Kalen McGee at Snow College. So know about him. He went to Santa Rosa. We just took him from Santa Rosa College. He's got a ton of experience playing at the collegiate level and junior college, and so add some depth, especially with the older guys that we had leaving on our roster. So we're gonna have to play a bunch of true freshmen. He's a guy that'll come in right away and help us out. And then Troy Miller, steal of the DBs. All these guys super fantastic, but Troy Miller, 130-something tackles as a corner, as a defensive back, safety. He can play. He loves it. He's kind of quiet, reserved, but when he puts those pads on, he's going to come hit you. And we got better at the defensive back position. Huge emphasis there.
Good deal. A lot of good guys, a lot of good speed guys, and like I mentioned, a lot of length. And it's key to have a length in that position, especially quarterbacks and safeties. Let's round it off, Coach, and kind of just finish up at least talking about individual players. Let's go into special teams. We obviously know you got a fantastic place kicker, an All-American candidate next season, but obviously I think one of the things you needed was a punter, and you addressed that as well. Let's talk a little bit about special teams.
We definitely addressed that situation. We don't see my quarterbacks out there punting anymore. Even though they can do it, they did a pretty good job for us filling in.
Great job.
I think if they emphasized a little more, they would have been better. But Raleigh Phillips, okay? He's our punter from down under. We like that little saying. I don't know if you did that or if Fossil did that.
That was Tyler Almond. That was your defensive coordinator when he was asking me to help record some of those voiceovers for the recruiting videos online. He said, can you mix in the punter from down under somehow? Keep it professional, try to keep a straight face, don't laugh or anything. But we did. We got it in there, and he's from Australia.
Yeah.
He's an older guy. Tell us the story of how someone from Australia is going to end up on campus here in St. George,
Utah. It's kind of starting to be kind of the trendy thing to do. I mean, I guess we're following the trend, but I think the Ray Guy Award winners from Utah are Australian-type punters. So I went to Australia a few years ago to work the Down Under Bowl when I was at Snow College, and I went to the first Australian rules football game, and it's a huge circular field, huge. And they run around. If you played razzle-dazzle football growing up, where you get to throw the ball all the way down the field and there's no rules, it's kind of like ultimate frisbee.
Yeah.
But they play it with their feet. Okay, so they've got the ball that looks like a rugby ball, and they run, and they can only take, or when they want to pass it, they have to kick it. So these guys grew up playing this game in recess or whatever, and they just boot the ball. They boot the heck out of it, and they can do it on the run. So the rugby-style kick, he can do fantastically, and you see his highlight on film. And takes the 1-2 step kick very, very well. He's a guy that we're definitely excited about. I'm excited to have him speak to our team just to hear his accent. But good football player.
I'm also told he can hang the ball up there as well. And
great distance,
looking forward to seeing some punts inside the 10-yard line.
Absolutely.
Inside the 5. Heck,
absolutely.
We're going to go big. We're going to go big or go home, right?
Got to.
What about Owen Smith? I think is the other guy we need to talk about.
Yeah, kicker. Owen's awesome. So he's got a brother that's on a mission right now, signed at BYU. He was thinking about going to BYU. I'm glad he signed with us. Excited about that. From Brighton High School. Really super smart kid. And we had his team, Brighton High School, at Snow College when he was a sophomore at our team camp. And I remember him just nailing these 50-yarders as a sophomore. And he's a little guy, So I followed him all the way up, and we offered him a scholarship, easy get for us. He was 11 of 15, but had multiple, like 3 over 40. Yeah. And missed a couple 50-yarders, and that's why it didn't seem as good as it is. I mean, 11-15 is really good, especially in high school. Made all of his PATs. Can kick it out of the end zone with not a problem. So really, really like that kid. Great family again. Great parents on the trip, and really good getting to know him all these years. We talk about recruiting as a relationship game. You want to build a relationship and a rapport with these guys, and getting in front of them as many times as you can is huge. And that just went with Owen. That was kind of an example of that, knowing him since he was a sophomore and recruiting him all the way up. So, good kid.
Talking with head coach Paul Peterson as signing day 2020 kind of winds down to an end. We're making rounds with the media. You'll be on with the local sports radio station a little bit later in the day as well. And we're just excited to talk about these guys here. And I think a lot of the questions are, okay, what's next? Well, what's next? Most of these guys, they got to finish high school and then come join, in the fall. But of course, you got a spring calendar coming up as well. I'm told if the spring ball will officially begin in March. Take us through that. Take us through the spring calendar. What can we expect? When's the spring game? What are we thinking here for the spring?
We actually just finalized it as far as getting it out on social media. It should be out tomorrow online. We start first week of March, so we'll go 2 weeks on. We'll go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. And then for 2 weeks, we'll have little scrimmages on those Saturdays. And then we got spring break, and we'll go two weeks on again and have our spring game on the 4th. We'll also on that spring game on the 4th do a kids clinic, free kids clinic with our guys right after there. So that's always fun. Hopefully we can get Brooks out there, maybe the cheerleaders out there, throw some free swag out there and have them sign some posters of our guys. But really good for those kids just to get out there and interact with our guys and go through some drills. It's a pretty fun day.
Hey, can I participate in the kids clinic? I gotta fix some.
You got
of
the
my,
right height. Did I get him?
He went there. He went there.
He's got the baby face.
When I used to travel with basketball, every restaurant we went, Coach Judkins would ask if we could get a kid. He'd say, "Hey, this is my son. Can he?" But
That's
no,
awesome.
it's fun. It's all fun and games.
Me and Juddy on the same page there. Then.
Exactly. Last thing before we let you go, been great chatting about these recruits. And for all you listening out there, you can head over to DixieStateAthletics.com, see a full list of everybody who's signed so far, and we'll keep updating that as the names continue to come in. Head over to the Dixie State football Twitter account at DixieState_FB and watch the great videos that
those are awesome.
The coaching staff has put together. Last thing we want to ask you about, though, is Greater Zion Stadium.
That is so cool.
Last time when we had you on the show, this idea was still kind of in its infancy, and they were really trying to ramp it up and get it going, and now it's here. And the deal has been made, and just talk about how huge that is for your program.
You guys have no idea. So when I took this job, that was like, okay, we're going to make this jump Division I. Here's the date, and then you're like, I'm all in. I'm so excited for this, right? But President Williams and Dr. Booth have done such a phenomenal job of making it right, everything right. Our number of scholarships, right? We need a new stadium because we're going to be competing with these guys. We need to recruit to that stadium. Done. You know what I mean? Not to mention all the other stuff. We're going to get new dorms and a new science building. And everyone loves science, but all these super exciting things for us, it makes it so easy because this is already such a great place to live. So to be able to coach and recruit to this is huge, and it showed in the signing class. We went to, we battled the two other FCS teams in the state, and we won on some guys, and we lost on some guys. That's always going to happen. But last year it was a little different, So the momentum's rolling, and get these guys developed in the weight room, and we're going to win some games. So it's fun, man. I'm excited. I'm really glad to be here.
How big was the Human Performance Center?
I missed that. Well? I missed that.
I mean, you take the recruits there and show them that. I mean, I'm sure they had to have loved that building.
Dude, that place is unbelievable, And we're the football coaches have our intramural team, and we're undefeated right now. Just challenge all you students out there. Let's go.
What's the team name? What's your team name?
Nothing but net. No, I don't know. I don't know what we are. Old fogies or something. No, it's fun. But that place is pretty sweet. Our recruits got to see a little bit of the swim meet that they had on the first weekend, and the basketball game, and that place was rocking. Our basketball team's sweet. So just so much fun stuff going on here. Love it.
He is head coach Paul Peterson, and our time with him has come to a close, but learned a ton about these new recruits. And again, if you want to see the full list, head over to DixieStateAthletics.com. We'll be issuing a full press release within the next couple of hours, and you can read a little bit about each player, and we'll have quotes from Coach Peterson about the signing class as well. And if you want to continue to dive into this signing class. Coach, thanks so much for stopping by.
Sweet. Thanks for having me.
Getting these guys here, and can't wait for spring ball to start, and then get through the summer and the fall, and then we'll be playing football again.
Coming up so fast. Thanks.
We got to take a break. When we come back, Drayson and I will talk about our Trailblazer Weekly Game of the Week. Some big games for basketball. Baseball's on the road again. Which game will it be? We'll tell you as we wrap up the show after this timeout.
1 in 3 adults has pre-diabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your favorite brother, your other brother, you, your football buddy, your football buddy. You, the boss. The boss's boss. If 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, that means it could be you, your barber, your barber's barber.
Nice work.
Thanks.
You, your plumber,
Breathe right into your foot.
your plumber's masseuse.
Yes.
You, your dog walker,
On your left.
your cat jogger. Or you, your co-pilot, your co-pilot's co-pilot. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org to know where you stand.
I have a backpack.
请所有的同学回到座位哈。3。
Get our print career. And there's the bottom.
Does this one have more water?
Can you tell me why?
Hey, Kevin, you thinking about retirement?
I'd love to, but I'm pretty busy with all this.
Yeah. Hey, let's meet our retirement coach, Avo. A is for taking action.
Not anxiety?
No, Kevin, you're gonna be fine.
You sing?
Barely. V is for variety.
And you dance?
Sort of. Come on. O is for optimize your savings.
Let Avo lead the way.
Visit aceyourretirement.org today.
Nice.
Thanks.
Where do you find the titans of classical music in St. George? Classical music on Radio St. George, 100.3 FM. Where do you find the legends of jazz? Evenings on Radio St. George, 100.3 FM.
I take the road less traveled, run free, unwind, unravel, someplace outside with lots to do. Green trees, red rocks, and don't forget that blue sky. The sunshine shining, sunshine pouring on me. Think I might just stay a while. Say hooray all day because the sun is gonna shine on me. Sun is gonna shine on me. Sun's gonna shine on me.
Our hearts are made stronger by how we treat others.
Put her there.
The light you share can impact those around you, but so can the darkness.
Later, twerps. Did Pete saying mean things bother you?
So when you reach out to another person, take a moment to consider how they will feel and let your heart be the key to making a difference. Because of you, someone's entire day, year, or even life can change.
In every heart, there's hope.
This graph is square.
Pretty close.
Artemisia is all the sage brushes, but there's your needle and thread. Which one is this?
Come down. Perfect. Great. Sodium carbonate.
Today's show is brought to you by Rock Canyon Bank, serving Utah businesses and agriculture for over 25 years, with locations in Pleasant Grove, Orem, Provo, Spanish Fork, Fillmore, and at 94 East Tabernacle, right here in St. George. Rock Canyon Bank, back to banking. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Well, you know what they say, time flies when you're having fun, and this show has certainly flown by as we welcome you back inside Trailblazer Weekly one final time. Just a couple of minutes left on the show to wrap things up, and great stuff with head coach Paul Peterson, and love hearing his enthusiasm for the program, for these new recruits. And it's the first Division I signing class, and they got bigger, they got longer, they got faster, and it's everything that you want to accomplish in a signing class. And I'm excited to see what these freshmen and some of these junior college transfers are going to bring to the program beginning next year.
Yeah, it's really fun, and it just feels different. You know, I mean, last year obviously it was fun to talk about these guys that were coming in, but this year it just feels different. And obviously, you know, it's because we're going to Division I, and because we had such a great season last year, and that we were able to see there was areas to improve upon. And I think it's just really, really fun to know this is the first recruiting class in Division I, and it's really happening. It's almost like the first step of it becoming real that we're going to be Division I in a few short months.
Yeah, with each season that ends, meaning the fall season ended, and now we're in, the basketball is almost over. I mean, there's a couple of weeks left in the conference season. It just gets a little bit more real, and you get closer to that date in the middle of the summer where all of a sudden you go to bed one night as a Division II member, and then you wake up the next morning as a Division I member, and it's getting closer, and it's an exciting time to be at Dixie State. But let's move on. Let's talk about our game of the week. Speaking of exciting times, there's a ton of stuff. I mean, softball plays 5 games this weekend. Baseball is playing a few more games. They want to keep their undefeated start going. The men's and women's basketball teams back into Colorado, and both playing Western Colorado and Colorado Mesa again this weekend. And it was hard to pick between the two because just like a couple of weeks ago when we chose the women's team against Colorado Mesa as our game of the week, I mean, we could have gone that route again. Heck, we could go to Friday and the women's game against Western Colorado. They'll be out for revenge against Dixie State, and the Trailblazers spread on the road, and they got to keep winning if they want to stay in the RMAC tournament. However, with Dixie State's, the men's team, with their loss to Adams State on Saturday, all that did was magnify and amplify the importance of every game going forward. And so Dixie State has got to win these games on the road. I mean, really, if you want to win the regular season outright, if you're the Trailblazers men's team, you probably have to win out. Black Hills State is on fire right now, and you do hold the head-to-head over them for the seeding. You probably have to win out, but for these purposes, we've named Dixie State at Colorado Mesa, the men's game on Saturday, our Trailblazer Weekly Game of the Week.
Yeah, and there's really no question once we got thinking about it, because obviously the Trailblazers, you dropped a tough one to a 6-win team last weekend against Adams State. Really a tough one to lose there last weekend. And you really got to be able to bounce back against a tough road trip against Western Colorado, and then the second night of a back-to-back against Colorado Mesa, a team that is just lurking right behind you in the conference standings right now. Dixie State 12-3 in conference, and Colorado Mesa 9-6. So they're right there behind, and Mesa is in a clump of 4 different teams tied with New Mexico Highlands, Westminster, and UC Colorado Springs. That clump is all at 9-6, and so for each one of those teams adds more incentive to win more games than the other ones, because if you can do that, not only do you jump one spot, but you jump everyone else that's in that cluster. So a huge motivation for Colorado Mesa at home on the second night of a back-to-back for Dixie State. It's going to be a very, very tough road trip, and maybe, last week against Adams State might have been maybe an indicator that, those second games, even though if you're playing an opponent that on paper might not be as good as you, 6-win team Adams State, they got to be able to learn from their mistakes like last week and bring it against Colorado Mesa, because the schedule right now is a little bit weird. You have a couple of teams left on your schedule on the bottom kind of 3 or 4 teams in the conference, namely Colorado Christian, Adams State again at home, and then Western on this upcoming road trip. But then you've got Colorado Mesa, you've got Westminster still, you've got Fort Lewis
at home
still. And so there's a few of those that are right there in the pack and kind of knocking on the door for playoff contention. And for those teams like a Fort Lewis, like a Regis, like the Colorado Mesa, like we mentioned, they are fighting for playoff positioning just like you are, and they have maybe even more motivation to not lose this game than you do, because you're right now sitting safely at number 2, but you can easily fall a couple spots if you're not careful.
Yeah, Trailblazers out of first place right now in second. They do hold the tiebreaker, the head-to-head tiebreaker over Black Hills State. And Black Hills State still they have to play Colorado School of Mines. They've got to play New Mexico Highlands. And so there's probably going to be a loss in there somewhere. But if you're Dixie State, I mean, your focus is one game at a time. You can't, we can talk about Colorado Mesa being our game of the week. They can't. And, they got to go win at Western Colorado Friday night and then get this win Saturday night at Colorado Mesa. And it will be tough weekend for both teams, for the men's and women's teams, as they continue to scrap to keep their RMAC tournament hopes alive, both teams. So good stuff on today's show. Big shout out and thank you to head coach Paul Peterson, football team joining us once again. Remember, you can head out to the Canyon Softball Complex this weekend. Dixie State will play 5 games, but there's going to be games going on 4 fields Thursday, Friday, and Saturday pretty much all day. Drayson and I will be there statting games, scoring games, so come out, say hi, and enjoy some great softball. Baseball team in action as well. We'll have all the updates for you over the weekend on DixieStateAthletics.com. Thanks for watching. See you next week.